so I appreciate that. But with that, we're gonna jump right in, and today we are talking about comparing schools and costs. So we have some juniors, we have some seniors. How many of you already have a school picked out, have been accepted? Awesome. Maybe that was this, question I should have asked, but I really like the you just humoring the celebrities. Are any of you? Can any of you tell me where you're going?
University of Oregon.
University of Oregon.
Community College.
Okay. Where?
Portland Community College.
Portland Community. Very nice. Anyone else?
Oregon State.
Oregon State. Okay. That's good because those are all colleges that we're going to be talking about
Well, there you
today.
go.
So I wasn't even looking for that, but I was like,
Now let's see who made the best financial decision. Put them on the spot.
I'm sorry, Gabriel, I didn't hear you.
Maybe West Point.
West Point. Nice. Very good. What about over here?
Are you guys interested in maybe? Any ideas? Yeah?
Not yet? Not sure?
OHSU?
OHSU. Okay, great. Well, I'm also glad that some of you are unsure and on the fence because that's a lot of what this presentation, or I should say most of this presentation, is about, of course, with the financial aspect tied in very heavily. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. At any time if you have questions, go ahead, just raise your hand or shout it out like fourth graders do, because I'm used to that. They're fun. You guys are not fourth graders, by the way. Okay. So how do you plan to choose the right school for you? Those of you who don't know yet. Is it all about the funky mascot at the university? What about the location? Is it a nice, warm, sunny, tropical location? Bet you a lot of folks in the East Coast right now are thinking about that. What about the dorm rooms? Do they need to be nice? It's a pretty nice dorm room. It's about the size of what they are, by the way. What about the cheerleaders and the sports teams? They need to have attractive cheerleaders. Isn't that cute? All right. So what are we going to be talking about today? Here's the objectives. 3 main objectives I'm going to be covering, and I need you guys to keep track of those because at the end we're going to review, and I want you to let me know if we got through all of those, and if we didn't, I want you to ask questions. So today we're going to be researching average salaries based on education and specific career aspirations. We're going to learn the total cost of school and the difference between sticker price and net price. And then finally we'll compare total post-secondary expenses versus out-of-school annual salary, and we're going to calculate the return on investment. All right. Any questions so far? Pretty clear? All right. How much money will you make annually once you've settled into your career? This is where does anybody know? Or at least want to share what your career plan is? Maybe we can help you out with some possible salary ranges.
Any idea what you guys want to do? You want to be a nurse? Is that what you always ask you?
A nurse practitioner. Nurse practitioner. Okay. Excellent. So that's a good field. You're gonna make some money. You're gonna be a little stressed out, but you're going to do quite well for yourself.
Tucker, you got your hand up. What do you want to be?
Engineering. Okay, very good. We need engineers, so go, just like we need nurses. And again, a very good field. You will make a nice income as you get more experience, even starting out. You'll make pretty good income. I, of course, don't have specifics, but we're going to talk about how you can find some specifics. Anyone else?
Henry, what are you going to be?
Maybe a member of the Air Force or political religious scientist.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, income I'm not sure. Probably depends on your rank in the military. Is there someone else? Okay, so we have a good variety, a good idea. Some of you aren't sure yet. That's okay too, because you know what? You might change your mind even in the future. And I think when you have the career and education discussion that probably came up about things might change, and that's all right too. Okay. So let's take a look at the next chart here, and I know this is kind of tiny, you might not see this very well, but we can always get you copies of the PowerPoint slides after if you'd like to see this closer. So the numbers speak for themselves. Based upon the statistics over a long period of time, we know that the more education you have, the higher your annual salary is going to be and the lower your unemployment rate. You see on the scale here, now these are numbers from 2011. You know, sometimes it takes a little bit for the data to come out. So in 2011, this is the mean earning. Oh no,
You touched it,
smartboard.
boom.
Ah!
That is a negative.
I
You can write on it if you want to point something out, you can use a
Okay.
pen to show them what you
Yeah,
have
maybe,
now. Yeah.
like if I do that.
We'll just like circle something or say, hey, this is what this is.
Okay.
Yeah, so this, that's.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
fancy. Okay. So the mean average earnings in 2011. Here's your level of education, and then the unemployment rate in 2011. I kind of feel like the NFL, like when they ring on the
You
screen.
get all fancy. Go for it.
So the first stat here, we have less than a high school diploma. So you can see that the average is about 29, almost 30,000, less than a high school diploma. Now this is for 25 years and older. So I think, you know, this is nationally. Oregon's going to be even different than this, a little lower, by the way. 14.1% unemployment rate. That's really, really high. Really, really high. Then as you move on, high school graduate, no college at all, it goes up pretty significantly. $41,288 is your mean income, 25 and older. With a 9.4% unemployment rate though, that's still pretty high. Significantly high. All right, now you go to college. You have some college, no degree. Your income jumps up, you know, not a lot though, to about a little over $46,000. So that's some college. Your unemployment does decrease, but again, I don't feel like that's not a big jump there. But then we get over here. Occupational program or career school. Do you guys know what those are? Any examples?
Tech school or something like that.
What?
Like a motor, like a mechanical institute.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, any sort of trade school. You know, the community colleges have their specific trades within them. So that could be considered also a community college. So your income jumps up to about $50,000, and then your unemployment, this is kind of, I feel like that's a pretty big shift there. 6.6%. So that's having a degree out of an occupational school or a tech school. Now we move on to the associate's degree, and that's where you would get that from usually a community college. There's other schools that offer that too. And you jump up to almost $53,000, and then the unemployment, actually, what happens? You see that? It gets even higher than over here. I actually first noticed that last night when I was prepping. I was like, oh, I didn't notice that. Why do you think that is? It's not a huge shift. So why do you think that is?
So you could trade schools direct into a certain field, and they're usually trained for jobs that are others.
Absolutely.
They get more travel.
Yeah, yeah. Trade schools, technical schools are going for specifically training typically for very in-demand jobs. So folks walk out of those schools with usually a job in hand. You know, welding, it's often the hard trades of welding, construction. So they're usually likely to get a job. But as you notice, the income salary is still lower. Something to just be aware of. All right, now we see a big significant increase here, right? bachelor's degree. So from about $53,000 all the way up to over $71,000. Average salary, 25 and older, with a bachelor's degree. And then look at the other thing we see. 4.9% unemployment rate. That's pretty awesome. Would you agree? Yeah. And it keeps going. Master's degree. So again, nationally, we're going to talk a little bit more on the next slide about that. About 85,000, your unemployment rate decreases. Then doctorate, professional degree, you see that's well into the $100,000 range. And then, of course, the unemployment rate there. Any questions on that? This, honestly, this slide is probably one of the most powerful slides in the presentation today.
What does JD stand for? I know that JD is medical doctor, but JD.
I think it's a judicial doctorate. I'm not exactly sure about that. That's a good question. And we'll Google it after. I love Googling things. All right. Any other questions? All right, how do I clear the writing?
If you just press the button, it'll go away. Go to your next slide.
Mind blowing. See, now all volunteers that watch this video are going to be like, we want that smart. All right, so the next slide here talks about Oregon in the unemployment, earnings, and education here. Now, this is from an Oregonian article published in 2013, and we see a lot of the same trend, right? Of course, the wages are lower, and that tends to be the case in Oregon. With the exception of, do you guys remember what less than high school was on the last slide nationally?
Less than good.
Right. So that is, I believe, the only one stat that puts us ahead of the national average. High school diploma equivalent, that was about the same, I think a little lower, right? Some college or no degree, 48,000. Associates, 54. And then this gets interesting here.
Same.
Right. Master's degree and a bachelor's degree, the same amount of money. Why do you think that is? Anybody? I have a theory, but I'm always interested to hear.
I guess my theory would be because we have a lot of both. And so
Yeah.
you're kind of competing for the same job. I think Oregon's actually, nationally, actually pretty highly educated.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I suspect too. There's a lot of people in Oregon and Washington that have master's degrees, so you know they're competing. I think too is a lot of folks, because we had the recession, right? You're aware of that. We had high unemployment, so a lot of people went to school to get master's degrees, and so now things have improved. And I think there's the competition, and the folks that kept going to school were younger, so they don't have the experience. That's just some of my thoughts. I think that we'll see this shift as time goes on. Hopefully that shifts for folks with master's degrees and so forth. And then of course a huge jump, just like in the last slide, with the doctorate professional degree, $107,000. So those of you that were talking engineering, nurse practitioner, even though those aren't necessarily doctoral degrees, you easily after some years could be making beyond 6 figures.
I'll be getting my car.
All right, any questions about Oregon and these stats? I find this stuff fascinating. I don't know about you guys. Okay. So what about your specific career? Have you taken time to research the salary and averages for your specific career? We kind of already talked about this. Maybe now that we've gotten a little bit into the presentation, is there anyone who now is like, yeah, I've done a little bit of research on this
Well, we all
salary?
did a little bit in personal finance. They picked one career to look at.
Okay.
I don't know if they remember it. It's been a year or two ago.
Okay. Is anyone still thinking that same direction, that same career path that you were when you took personal finance? Is you not even?
Graphic design,
Okay. Do you know about what the average
it
salary
was
is?
about 80,000. 80,000 to 100,000.
Fabulous. Okay. Good. So what we have up here is a chart, and this is where I'm going to encourage you, as you're researching your salaries, to go and take a look. And it's the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and this is the government's website on this. And this is a great resource, not only to find salary data about your career, but also provide you with industry research and state-by-state breakdowns. How many of you plan to move to another state? Not sure.
None.
A couple of you, okay,
Okay.
all right. So if you're planning on that, you can go to this website and get some information.
I was thinking about country.
Out of country, okay. Not sure if that website's gonna help you out, but there's certainly websites out there that can give you some information on that. Very
So
cool.
write down Bureau of Labor Statistics in your notes, you guys, as part of that next month.
I give that a,
So this will help you with, so you choose the state you plan to live in. A lot of what we're talking about today is the Oregon stuff, because we're in Oregon, right? Choose your desired occupation, review salary averages, and this example up here, so the information up here, this is for a social worker. And we have the breakdown. The average hourly wage is about $26.23, and the annual wage is about $54,000. Now that's the average. Starting out though, you're probably going to be around the $30,000 range if you're lucky, says someone from the social services industry. So, but then on the high end, you know, as you get more experience, maybe there's a lot of social workers that work in government sort of jobs or at hospitals. You can make on the high end there $80,000. So if there's any budding social workers in here, there's your research. But for the rest of you, I highly encourage you to check out this website and do some research on those salaries. Any questions on
Just
that?
remember, you guys, median doesn't mean that's starting. So a lot of kids look at the median and think, oh, I guess that's an average, but that's an average of everybody working, and some people have been working for 30, 40 years and within that average. So you guys should always be kind of looking down more towards the beginning one,
Right.
or a beginning person in your career. Not to say you can't start off high. My daughter started off with a very high salary. She lucked into it, but that's not normal.
Yeah. Okay. All right, the next chart here, so comparison shopping, college scorecard. It's important to consider more than one school prior to enrolling. I think you guys would agree with that, right? Not putting all your eggs in one basket. You probably heard that in the investing class, right? Diversifying. Take time to compare the key characteristics of each school. Some of the things you could compare, of course, cost being a factor. Are the course credits that you'll earn at one school easily transferable to another institution? Any of you planning to transfer? Maybe?
After are you going to do 2 years PCC and then you have an idea where you want to go after that? Oregon State, okay.
Okay, so it's really going to be important to make sure that when you're at PCC, you're finding out what transfers. Yeah. Excellent. I think my example, my story will come up later, but first of all, let me tell you, I got my bachelor's degree in 4 years. Woo. Secondly, I went to 3 different colleges
Oh,
in 4 years. Now I stayed with it. I'm not from Oregon, like many other people in Oregon. I stayed within the university system, so those credits were able to transfer quite easily. Actually, what I found out is the credit that I thought sometimes in college, early on, you're going to take courses that you don't get credit for. They're just study skill sort of classes, was something I took. And so I didn't get credit at my freshman year, the college I attended. This was a non-credit class. It's just kind of a study skill sort of class, which, by the way, was, I thought, a good investment regardless if I was getting credit or not. When I transferred, I got credit